Roz is a robot who is destined to help human beings complete their tasks. She's destined to be of help to the people she serves. But she finds herself on an island that doesn't have any people on it. All the island has is wild animals. And because she knows nothing but to do the job she wasn't intended to do, she goes about trying to be of help to these wild animals. And in the process, she has to learn to be more than she was programmed to be.
Incident report. At 0300 hours, a number of Universal Dynamics robots were lost in a typhoon. Chance of recovery is unlikely.
Do you need assistance?
This is a story about belonging and how you seek it when you find yourself in a foreign world. And for Roz, she has to adapt to the environment by learning the languages of the animals and really picking up how to survive in this place. But in the process, she never lets go of her true essence, which is to be of help and to be kind. And while it seems to be a liability to the animals she encounters, who say kindness has no place in this wild world, we find that her kindness ends up being her superpower and uniting the animals of the island in a time when it matters most. I was really taken by it because it has just such a genuinely human centric message that is delivered through the story of a robot, and I just thought that was such an interesting way to get us to see ourselves more clearer. And so reading that book made a big difference. The source material is rich and meaningful, especially in today's world where we're so often afraid of the things of people we do not know. And I feel like we are resorting back to tribal affiliations that can limit us. And here's a book that's saying, that there is a shared, there's value in generosity and there's value in kindness. In our very first session, I came with some thoughts, and it was high stakes to see how Chris would take my opinions about things he'd been working on for a much longer time than I had. And Chris was so game. He was always receptive, always considerate of the things that I offered up. We would have really fruitful debates that really just built a sort of like a framework, a foundation for what ended up becoming Roz's evolution from script to script. And so I felt very well matched to him as a creator. He is highly imaginative, deeply talented, wildly intelligent, and still he's open, porous, and receptive, such that you can come with what you have to offer and he metabolizes it and his creativity only expands. And I found that he too was so influential to my creative process because he was able to give me notes in ways that weren't prescriptive. He would give me notes that would inspire new thought and then new performances in the booth. So it felt very symbiotic, our relationship. It has been fascinating to have a front row seat to the process of making Roz and the world that she lives in. I remember, obviously there's the illustration that comes with Peter Brown's book that was the source material. But then there was all the interpretations from pencil sketches and then adding color and dimension and texture and scale that has come through the years, and to see the final version of Roz in the film as three-dimensional as you can possibly get with a two-dimensional medium. It's been so fascinating, and the choices have been very specific to tell this story. One of the coolest things, I think, is that they shied away from giving Roz a human-like face. So yes, she has limbs and that sort of thing, but her face is just two circles. She doesn't have a nose, she doesn't have a mouth, and therefore she doesn't have expression as we would expect it. And yet there's so much empathy we get from her as she evolves into a more empathetic, more individualized being. When we think about the word wild in today's society, in modern society, urban society, it's something that we try and get away from as much as possible, right? It has a negative connotation, that it is untamed, it is unsophisticated, and therefore it is problematic. Our societies, as we develop them, we seek more order, we seek linear processes and predictability. But what we learn from nature is that it is perfectly imperfect, and there is a lot of intelligence in not doing the same things always, that there is an order in what would appear as wild. And what Roz learns is, in order to survive this natural world, she has to adapt and improvise and learn to innovate in order to be able to keep up with the laws of this world. And that's really important to remember as human beings, because at the end of the day, we are definitely a part of a wild world. And it is to our own benefit to remember that wildness and hold it dear.
Brightville is where he belongs. And now you can return to your solitary life of struggling to survive on an island where everything wants to kill and eat you.